Do you ever want to dive deeper into the Bible, but you just don't know where to begin or struggle to feel like you have the time? When you read the Bible, do you get frustrated because you know there is so much more in there, you just have no clue how to get it out? Or maybe you want to know the Bible better and you're looking for any resource to help. Well, then this is the podcast for you. Welcome to the Context and Color of the Bible podcast. We are two sisters.
I'm Veronica.
I'm Erica. We love to study the Bible and we love to help others understand it better. When it comes to our own study of Scripture, we have found that in bringing back the context of Scripture, it actually adds to our understanding. It adds color to the black and white pages of the text. Veronica, what season are we in?
I gave up on seasons.
Oh.
Because it's too hard in podcast world to tell people. So we just go by episodes.
Oh, what episode?
157.
Whoa.
Yes. But I'm going to take the microphone completely from you because I don't like sharing.
I'm used to it.
But, I want to promote that Erica's speaking at a retreat in a couple of weeks down in the Niles, Buchanan, Michigan, South Bend, Indiana area. It's a mother-daughter retreat with Life Action Camp. So it's still not too late to sign up. Go to lifeactioncamp.org. I'm looking for somebody in
Sounds good.
Someone in the VanHaitsma family to know. Just Google Life Action Camp and Erica's name. Yes. And just to say, she is available as a retreat speaker. That's why I took the mic back, so I could say that, and it's not you shamelessly plugging yourself. But we ended. This is sad. We need sad music. This is our last week with Bryan.
We'll have him back.
Yes,
no, next
he's
week.
coming. Well, we've already recorded that. Right. In 2 weeks, we will be back to not sharing a mic. But this is our last week in Habakkuk. Next week, Bryan's going to bring Daniel chapter 6. It's 55 minutes. I don't know. I'm going to have to go back and listen. It's 55 minutes long, so we are done with the short.
I got wordy.
Yes, you got to your normal.
It's worth
You
it.
guys
It's
should have cut me
so
off.
worth it. But we ended last week. Are we opening with a song? Are you going to tell us? Because we've all been waiting for a week.
It's at the end.
Oh, it's really the end. We did have a quick little discussion in between.
And nobody guessed
Last
right.
week. I know, and Rena even tried. She even gave up and went upstairs.
Yes.
So, with that, we are in Habakkuk chapter 3, starting with verse 8.
Yeah.
Is that where you want to start us?
Yeah. So we're in Habakkuk's song, his psalm, and we talked last week about how his perspective is now he's focused and resting and crying out to God to renew his covenantal deliverance like he did in the past for Israel at the Exodus, to do a renewed version of that. Even though he recognizes discipline is going to come, the wickedness around him needs to be dealt with, and God would not be God if he let that just go unchecked. But yet he's saying, in wrath, remember mercy. And then he goes on to recount that first. I don't know if you can officially call it a verse, but I think it's a segment there where we were looking past tense verbs, God's spoken of in the third person. Well, verse 8 says, let's see. Was your wrath against the rivers, O Lord? Was your anger against the rivers, or your indignation against the sea, when you rode on your horses, on your chariots of salvation?
Oh,
So,
we're now in present tense.
We're talking about
And
God
we're
in second person.
Well, it's almost like
Two.
he's talking to God.
Mm-hmm. So now we're going to go through this. There's a segment here now where it's all second person and the verbs are all shifted. So, it just, I don't know if we call it a different verse, but maybe for the sake of clarity, that's what I'm kind of reference it. We're now in the second verse. First verse focused on God remember they were past tense, but it was like Habakkuk's looking back from a future point and talking about God coming and saving Israel again. Now, what I think Habakkuk is starting to do, well, let me hold it.
Oh no.
Yeah, let's unpack a bit more.
Right.
I had someone once, they're like, you use the word unpack a lot. Like,
You do, but I like it because you are unpacking. Yeah.
So sorry, listeners, I'm using unpack. We're going to unpack this.
Which means we're going to have to answer questions.
I know.
Good. Quiz time.
I know.
Okay, so the themes of the Exodus. Well, we get a transition here because he's saying, was your wrath against the rivers? Was your anger against the rivers and against the sea? What does that make you start to think about?
Like the parting of the Red Sea?
And?
The water turning to blood?
Jordan River.
Oh, the Jordan River when they
Okay,
crossed.
so
Okay.
bookending that
Right.
wilderness journey. So we've got this, it's a thematic pivot now. We're talking about the rivers and the seas and God parting the rivers. Was he angry at the rivers? He was almost like, in a spiritual sense, he's
Right.
striking them and they're splitting in half. Was he angry with them? No. He's performing these acts of salvation. And I love verse 9. And so keep in mind, rivers, water, because we're pivoting now from the Exodus to something a bit more cosmic. A greater scope is being in view. He says, you stripped the sheath, in verse 9, from your bow, calling for many arrows. You split the earth with rivers. The mountains saw you and writhed. The raging waters swept on. The deep gives forth its voice. It lifted its hands on high. The sun and moon stood still in their place. And at the light of your arrows as they sped, at the flash of your glittering spear. There's a bunch of key words in there. What things started coming to your mind in the midst of that?
Erica's acting like she's shooting
She's
a bow.
shooting bow.
With arrows.
Just like Asher. Fire.
Is that what you thought of?
Nerf bullets.
I was thinking more like creation.
Good. Why?
Because you're splitting the earth.
Yep.
When God divided the land and the sea, the mountains watched and trembled, kind of like to me coming up out of the ground.
Yep.
The raging waters.
Water creation.
Yeah. The sun and the moon stood still, almost like
Yep.
that bow was shooting the stars and the sun and the moon into the sky and stopping them. Okay.
Yep.
Here's where you go.
So a lot of key words that tie back to creation.
We got
Good.
it. You got it. We're a team.
But what about
Oh, wait, we're not done.
the bow? Where does that come in? And it's not quite creation, but close.
The fall.
Nope, a little bit further into Genesis. What is God's bow?
The rainbow?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
You look confused.
I thought it was the moon.
The moon was God's
I
bow?
thought that's what you said.
you didn't listen very well. Erica got the cheat sheet and she's still failing.
Still failed.
So we call it rainbow, but in the Hebrew, it's just his bow. And what is God's bow? Where does it come into play in the early chapters of Genesis?
Noah.
Mm-hmm. Why?
When he's destroying. It's the promise that he'll never flood the earth again, even though the earth was completely wicked, other than Noah.
And so, as a covenantal sign of that promise, of that covenant with Noah, what does God do with the bow?
Oh, I remember.
Go.
Oh, he takes the bow down because the promise is done.
What does God do with the bow with Noah?
With Noah, he puts
You
it as
jumped
a
ahead.
reminder to not destroy the earth.
And now here,
He's taking it
he's
down.
taking it off its rack.
He's grabbing the bow, pulling it down because now
He's unsheathing the bow.
you uncovered your bow is what my
Oh, I had brandished.
Yeah.
he's using
wielding
it.
it.
He's
It's-
going to start using
Remember
it.
the gun on the shelf?
Oh.
It's got to go off.
Did you just jump back to Genesis and
No.
adding another gun? Gonna have to go remake all my graphics now.
So
Oh, wow.
the bow is coming off, and when, on the scale of cosmic history, when does the rainbow go away? When does God need to wield his bow again?
At the end of time.
So what are we seeing here?
Oh, he's really jumping ahead in the future then.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
This
this
is-
is like even
This is
beyond
it.
us.
This is revelation.
This is the cosmic battle to end all evil.
Wow.
Undoing. So the creation themes that you picked up on, the chaos and the water and all of that is being destroyed and eradicated. No more chaos, no more creatures of the deep, no more abyss. And as God's wielding this bow and he's calling for arrows, it talks about how he's in verse 11, the sun and moon, as you keyed in on, they stood still at the light of the arrows. Like God's just letting them arrows fly.
Game on.
He's destroying the enemy left and right. And because the arrows are so bright, the sun and moon are like, our job's done. We're done.
Wow.
And they're, as great as they are, their purpose is
Served.
complete. And verse 12, you marched through the earth in fury. You threshed the nations in anger. And why? Verse 13, you went out for the salvation of your people. The salvation of your anointed. This is, I think, one of 2 times in the book of the 12 that Messiah or anointed even shows up. So it's interesting. I think there potentially it's referring to the God's anointed people,
Right.
as opposed to
A singular.
Jesus the Messiah. Because we got to think, anointed was a term of someone set apart or given a role and responsibility. So why is God moving out in fury? Why is he destroying all evil, and creation is basically undoing itself now? Why? For the saving of his people, those who have joined themselves to him, his anointed.
Their suffering is done.
Yes.
It's been long enough.
Yes.
Time to deal with it.
Yes. And God deals with
Oh. You want to be on the right side of that.
Yeah.
it. Right.
I want to be one of the anointed ones.
Yeah. Or I'll cling to the anointing.
Yeah.
It's just an awesome
Yeah.
picture. I mean, where's this in our Sunday morning worship songs?
Yeah. Or even in our kids' Bible. I mean, where's
Right.
that picture? You just picture that strong, like, general,
Warrior.
warrior going out to,
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready to do battle.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I'm going to win.
Right.
I mean, the confidence, just, yeah.
Well, there's an aspect of God that is, like the Braveheart with the blue paint. Like,
Okay, another movie I haven't seen, but sure.
man,
I
you
know.
guys,
I'm a loser.
Rocky,
I know.
Braveheart. Okay, guys, audience, we
I
gotta.
know. I did Princess Bride. Can you?
This is a very, I think, this is my soapbox. You guys can
Go for
record other episodes and be like, Bryan I don't know what he was talking about. I think this is the masculine aspect of God that has been neutered out of teaching
Yep.
in our current day
Agreed.
and age.
Yes.
This is the God who's Braveheart or Conan the Barbarian, who's going to rescue his beloved, and he is gonna do battle, and it's not pretty, and it's not tea time.
Right, right. But that's what you want.
Yeah,
If someone's coming, if I'm being held captive,
yeah,
if I've got bad guys surrounding me, I don't want the mamsy-pamsy,
right.
not even a knight in shining armor. I want
The warrior.
the warrior.
Yeah,
I do want that Conan the Barbarian type looking guy who
Wickedness needs to be
dealt with.
and not just with
A slap on the wrist.
right. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So, 13, 14 just talks about God as he's crushing the head of the wicked. He's laying them bare, piercing them with arrows. It's like full on combat.
Mm-hmm.
He even grabs the spear of the enemy and uses it to kill them. It's like he takes their own weapons and turns it back against them. And then verse 15 closes that the second verse, so to speak. It echoes, was God angry with the rivers of the water? Well, here, verse 15, you trampled the sea with your horses and the surging of mighty waters. So you get that opening and closing of verse 2 with the references to water being parted. And so the picture here, which I wasn't clear on earlier, is God he's jumped into his chariot. And that's what in verse 8, you rode on your horses on your chariot of salvation. And the preferred weapon of a chariot rider in this day and age was the bow and arrow.
Makes sense.
So you'd have one guy driving the chariot and the other guy behind who's on a mobile platform of destruction.
Right.
But that's what it's God. I mean, the modern day version would be, jumping on a motorcycle or something, and he's got his weapon in his hand, and he's
Or a tank? Would that be?
maybe.
That's not fast.
This is God here, and there's even is it Psalm 18 where there's a psalm where he jumps. He's like he hears in heaven and jumps in his chariot. It's like, and he flies down to rescue David, his servant, when he's in distress. That's the same kind of picture here. He's not slowly making his way. He's like burning rubber to bring the salvation and the judgment and the cosmic redemption. And then Habakkuk's response in 16, I hear and my body trembles, my lips quiver. Obviously, like this would be
right?
a human's visceral reaction.
Uncontrollable response.
Legs trembled, his bones feel rotten, and yet I will wait, or quietly wait for the day of trouble to come upon the people who invade us. So he's coming back. He's bringing us back, kind of snapping us, the audience, back to, we've just had this vision of God one day bring mercy, remember your people just as you did earlier. But I know in the very end, you're going to come and thwart all evil. But yet, I know here, this nation is still coming. Babylon's still coming, as you said in chapter 1. But I'm going to wait quietly here.
That's very different than the way he started out.
Right.
Because he wasn't quiet, and he wasn't patient or calm.
Right.
But and we're getting a sense of how his perspective has changed, and we're going along on this journey with him, hopefully also able to say these kinds of things as we maybe at a smaller level, but over time by God's grace. And then the chapter ends with this famous poem or segment of his psalm. Though the fig tree does not bud, though there's no fruit on the vines, the produce of the olive fail, and the fields yield no food. The flock may be cut off from the fold, and there's no herds or cattle in the stalls. Yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will take joy in the God of my salvation. God, the Lord, is my strength. He makes my feet like the feet of a deer. He makes me tread on the high places. So even though he's at peace and he's looking towards that day of salvation, here I think in verses 17 through 19, he's saying, God, I see the coming judgment. I know it's going to get bad. But yet, even if all of these things, and he's describing like the fig would have been the delicacy or the dessert of those day and age, all the way down to subsistence level things are being taken away from me. Yet, in the midst of that, I'm going to still rejoice in you. So it's not just he's quiet. Now he's
So it would
rejoicing.
be like walking into a grocery store and it's empty.
Right.
Is that what he's saying here? It's empty. Like
There's nothing on the
there's
shelves.
nothing on the shelves.
Yet I will wait
But I will rejoice.
and rejoice
In the midst of an empty grocery store with an empty kitchen and pantry
and take joy in the God of my salvation. So he's moved even beyond just quietly at peace, but now he's proclaiming
worst case scenario.
Yeah, he's still,
I still have peace.
I'm not letting go of you, God, and I'm proclaiming and rejoicing in you.
And in a way, I'm just picturing someone who's like, I'm looking death in the face. Almost like a movie
Yes.
where the person, I can't think of a movie, but that's probably because I don't watch movies apparently. But the person is about to die, but in a way, they see what's coming beyond their death.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the restoration of everything. I might die in this moment, but my people or whoever will carry on.
Right.
You know, kind of Mordecai to Esther of you may perish, but God will raise up somebody
Right.
to save the people.
Yep. He's still moving.
Yeah.
He's
So
still-
even if my own personal life doesn't survive this, even if our people right now don't survive, in the end, I can still see God wins
Mm-hmm.
and everything is restored and
Right.
the wrongs have been righted.
Right.
That's such a bigger picture than outside of just.
It's bigger than me.
Yes.
And Habakkuk's grown. He's no longer, I think that's where he was looking primarily in chapter 1, at me.
Mm-hmm. I think we're all kind of silent with this
Yeah.
takeaway.
And again, a reminder of what we talked about last week. Remember, in your mind's eye, take these words and overlay them over the top of
The destruction.
destruction of an army that is coming, and smoldering ruins, and the panic in the streets of what's coming. Like, that's the imagery you're seeing, but the words that your ear is hearing are, though the fig tree doesn't blossom, imagine it being torn down by invading armies, eating. There's no fruit. The animals have all been taken. The fields are empty. And that's what you're hearing, yet he's rejoicing in God. So that juxtaposition of what you're hearing and what you're seeing, I think that's part of the power of this, and how the musicality of this overlaid with the historical reality just brings an added punch to it.
Wow. So not where I thought we were going to end up. And I truthfully don't remember you saying any of this at church when you preached it.
I don't
know. I don't remember walking away from this book like.
I don't know if I got a chance to unpack it. Sorry.
Probably because you take so long.
And I've had more time to think about it.
Okay.
And, other things will spark a thought, and I'm like, oh, I wish I would have said it this way. Or
Well, because truthfully, I've been having gone through this. It's like it's time for me to start memorizing something new again.
oh yeah,
So I'm gonna do the whole book.
Oh, it's
But I'm gonna put it out here for all our listeners when this goes live in 2 weeks to join me in memorizing and hold me accountable, because I need accountability occasionally to keep me going on this. But I just think to have walked through this whole book and understand it now, and to get to the end and have at least, okay, fine, if you don't want to do the whole thing, just do Habakkuk 3.
Yeah.
To have that just when you do look around and you see evil winning.
You have
to have, okay, this is what
Psalm,
comes. I mean, because I know when I see something beautiful outside, you know, and it's Psalm 19, the heavens declare the glory of God, that just comes without even really thinking about it. So I would love for this to come out now. Yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will be joyful in the God of my salvation. The sovereign Lord is my strength. He makes me as sure-footed as the deer, able to tread upon the heights. Even to have that little bit when I'm staring down what I think is evil, what feels wrong.
Yep.
Hopefully it's never as bad as this.
Right.
But
So, did you figure out the song?
no, I've been racking my brain.
Okay, so I'm probably being a little unfair because it may not qualify as a full song.
Okay, I'm putting the mic closer to Erica so she can get excited
she's
too.
about ready to yell at me.
You're probably
So,
close.
In your mind's eye, think about King Theoden at Helm's Deep.
Oh, when he died?
And he's saying, "Where's the horse?"
Oh.
He's speaking this speech, and there's a poeticness to it, but what scenes are being shown?
It's a
as
powerful scene.
You're seeing an invading army coming to kill him, and you're seeing this population that's ill-equipped to handle it. It's similar. There's a lot of similarities you could overlay the visuals with this kind of chapter. This chapter, though, brings a different meaning. His is very much despair.
Yes.
But those kind of visuals of this
And he's
marching
getting his armor put on and the light shining through the window, and it ends with like, how have the days gone down in the west?
Mm-hmm.
Like it is a very despairing but powerful scene.
That's the type of technique that Habakkuk's using, and that gets used elsewhere in the Bible. So hopefully that helps you, listener, to just connect in a new way with a chapter that may have been a bit hard to grasp a week or two ago.
But we need a movie producer.
I know.
Who will create this scene for us.
Oh, I know. That would be so cool. I know, because I'm just even thinking in the graphics, it's like, I don't think I can completely grab the graphics.
How do you do a warrior god coming?
It's multimedia.
Yeah.
You'd have to, yeah.
We need to raise up some of our kids. Know how to do this.
That's what makes the Bible so cool. It's that depth.
Yeah. Well, I've thoroughly enjoyed this. And like I say, I heard you preach this a couple years ago, and I didn't walk away with the awe and the wonder and the, wow, there's so much in this book. Probably because we've had more time to unpack it than you get in a sermon. But I've enjoyed it. I'm thankful I told you to do this.
Voluntold.
Pretty much was. But hopefully our listeners have enjoyed it. And as always, go back. This has been, I think, 8 or 9 podcasts.
Eight maybe?
Something like that.
7.
But what's nice now is, okay, go back. If you don't remember from the first week, binge and listen, because Bryan's done a really good job of just walking us through this whole story. And so come back next week. We're going to do Daniel 6. It is 55 minutes long. And then we're done with Bryan for a while.
Aww.
Well, not completely. I already told him, what are you preaching on at church, Micah?
Yep.
I told him, hey, I'll be hitting you up after Erica's done. But Erica will be promoting it on social media in the next week, what Erica's going to be up to, because that's exciting too. So as always, we would love if you would share these episodes with someone, because truthfully, I guarantee if you went to people and said, hey, tell me what the book of Habakkuk is about, they would have no clue. Or if they did, I bet they didn't get to this point. So,
right.
Because to me, this is now a book filled with hope.
Right.
Yes.
Filled with, okay, it starts out, and truthfully, that's what I didn't like about the first week. You didn't give us any hope.
That's
so
Act 1, though.
I know. So, share this with somebody who goes, I just see evil everywhere I look. Here's why I have hope. Here's why I have peace. Here's why I have joy. in the midst of listening to the news reports and all the troubles in the world. So thanks for joining us, and come back next week. Bye-bye.